let me share some things with you. Hi, impartation strategist Renee, and I'm here to talk to you about grace. So, about 3 years ago, I was in this relationship. And as I do with all things, I always ask God, is this relationship of you? Where did this relationship come from? What is it that you're saying? What are you doing, God? And in my prayers, I heard a voice that I know that is familiar, and it is the voice of God's Spirit say, I brought this person to you. So I'm like, ooh, I've been divorced and I haven't been in a relationship in a long time. So, okay, God, okay. But this person didn't actually walk in the same spiritual convictions that I walked in. And so if anybody questioning that, it's that I follow the teachings of Jesus Christ. And this person was one who practiced being a 5%er. And, truth be told, I loved him for him. And I don't want to say past tense. I love him. I don't not love people. And definitely not people that I'm in a relationship with. But I was like, God, this is kind of funny. I'm like, for the last 3 decades, I've been following you. I'm like, and of course, the goal is to be married. So if I marry this individual, I asked him, I said, well, does my last name change to the Islamic last name that you have taken on? And we laughed about it and everything. But more seriously speaking, in that, I heard God's voice say, I'm going to teach you about my grace because my grace is sufficient. And I'm like, well, God, I already know about your grace. Like, it was a lot of things that I could have been into or could have happened to me and it didn't. He says, no, no, no. You know my grace by the things that have happened to you. But you always walk on eggshells and you walk a tightrope because you don't want to mess up. But you won't know how good my grace is and how sufficient my grace is until you do something that is out of line or out of will, and then you have to experience my love after that. Well, my goodness, let me tell you, I continued this relationship for, oh wow, maybe a year and a half. And honestly, no lack of love, and we didn't fuss. We got along well. We even moved in together, got this big house, and merged our kids and family and things like that. But the more I kept going on, my spirit was convicted, and I had to go back to God and said, "But God, you were the one who said that you allowed this relationship." And he said, yes, because you're going to know my grace. And we have to understand sometimes too that when you are a willing vessel for God, he'll use you in certain manners as well. So it's always a bigger picture to the situation. But he was like, you're going to know that my grace is sufficient. And at the time that I was in this relationship with this man, I mean, I was winning a lot of awards for my film. And I mean, like one after the other, and blessings were like coming. And in my natural self or in myself, I'm thinking, oh my God, like, God, I am fornicating. I'm living with a man. Like, God, what are you saying? But so many blessings was coming. And I finally realized that I had experienced him in a way that in my 3 decades of walking with him, I had never experienced grace in such a manner. And it was so funny that I was so excited and ready to tell my testimony. I was ready to tell on myself about how I moved in with a man and how I was, operating in such a manner. Now, I wasn't out of order. Don't get it twisted now. It wasn't nothing ratchet or crazy, but it was just that I had to experience grace at another level. And I sit here and I tell you, listen, if you have fallen, if you have purposely walked into something, God's grace is still there if you ask him for forgiveness and you repent and you change from the mindset, from the behaviors, from the thought process, and from the heart attachment to it. Now, I say all that. Do I still love this person? In a way that I should, in a godly way. But I had to change my behaviors, change my address, change my relationship status in order for me to fully continue walk in the grace that God said I would know is his. Because once you find out and see that it's his grace guiding you and he gives you the go to do different, That's exactly what you should do. So I just wanted to let you know God's grace is sufficient. Even if you walk into a situation on your own, He still got you. That part.